The Texas sun was just dipping below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the suburban streets of Cedar Creek. The air was thick with the smell of barbecue smoke and freshly cut grass. Backyard lights twinkled like distant stars, strung haphazardly across the wooden fence and the patio where the graduates had set up their party. Loud music thumped from speakers, the kind of pop hits that made everyone bounce to the beat, unaware of what the night would bring. Ethan Parker adjusted the brim of his baseball cap and surveyed the scene. His friends were scattered across the yard, some dancing near the pool, others lounging on the patio chairs, drinks in hand. He smiled, but it was the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Popular, confident, admired, he had it all, or at least everyone thought he did. Inside, however, a restless knot of jealousy and insecurity twisted itself tighter every time he saw Tyler Grant laughing with Olivia Summers. "Ethan. Come on, man. Don't just stand there," Tyler called, waving him over to the grill. Nathan Hughes trailed behind, carrying a plate stacked with burgers. Ethan forced a laugh and walked over, feeling the tension under his skin. All right, he said, plopping down on the bench. "So, who's brave enough to jump into the pool first?" "Not me," Chloe Reynolds muttered, sitting in the corner near the fence. Her dark eyes followed the crowd silently, observing rather than participating. She didn't speak much, but she always noticed the little things others missed. Maddie Brooks nudged Ethan with her elbow, her green eyes sparkling. "You should do it. You're always talking about being fearless," she teased. "Yeah, fearless," Ethan echoed, hiding a smirk. "I'm just pacing myself." He glanced at Olivia, who was laughing at some joke Sam Lee had just made. The way Olivia's hair caught the light made him forget what he was supposed to be thinking for a split second. The party felt alive, almost electric. Music, laughter, the clinking of bottles and glasses, it was everything a graduation night was supposed to be. Yet, beneath it all, tension buzzed like an invisible current. Every glance, every whispered joke, seemed to carry a hidden meaning. Tyler, noticing Ethan staring at Olivia, grinned. "Careful, Parker. Don't drool all over yourself." "Very funny," Ethan muttered, rolling his eyes. But the jab stung more than he wanted to admit. Rivalries, old grudges, and unspoken secrets were woven tightly among the friends. Tonight, the bonds of friendship would be tested in ways none of them could imagine. As the sun fully set, fairy lights illuminated the pool, casting rippling reflections across the faces of the teenagers. Someone popped open a cooler, the sound of ice clinking against metal. A group of girls started a dance circle, while a few boys dared each other to attempt cannonballs into the pool. Chloe's eyes narrowed as she watched Ethan approach the edge of the pool. "Something feels off," she whispered under her breath, almost to herself. But no one noticed. No one listened. And just like that, the night rolled forward, laughter and music masking the first stirrings of jealousy, betrayal, and a secret that was about to shatter their world. The night had fully settled over Cedar Creek, the sky a deep indigo sprinkled with stars. The backyard, now illuminated by the soft glow of string lights, seemed almost magical. Yet, beneath the festive atmosphere, subtle tensions began to surface. Ethan leaned against the fence, watching Tyler and Olivia laugh near the pool. Each burst of laughter twisted something inside him. Tyler was everything Ethan wasn't: strong, confident, effortlessly popular. And Olivia. Olivia had a way of making everyone feel like they were the center of her attention, yet she gave Tyler glances that Ethan could only dream of. Maddie noticed his gaze. "Ethan, you're staring again," she said softly, a teasing lilt in her voice. "I'm not," he snapped, more sharply than he intended. Then he forced a laugh. "Just observing the chaos." "Sure," Maddie replied, raising an eyebrow. She knew him too well to be fooled. Across the yard, Sam Lee leaned close to Olivia, whispering something that made her giggle. Ethan felt a prick of irritation, but he forced himself to breathe. He reminded himself it was just a party. Nothing serious, yet. Chloe sat near the garden hedge, legs crossed, notebook in hand. She scribbled something quickly before glancing up at the scene. Nobody really paid attention to her quiet presence, which suited her perfectly. She noticed the way Nathan's hand lingered a second too long on Tyler's shoulder, the way Maddie's jaw tightened when Ethan's laughter grew a little too loud. These were small signs, subtle signals of undercurrents nobody wanted to see. Meanwhile, Tyler swaggered over to the grill, patting Ethan on the back. "Relax, man. You're way too tense. It's a graduation party, not a war zone. Ethan forced a smile. Yeah, just making sure nobody burns the burgers. Tyler's grin widened. I'm counting on you to keep the drama out of the pool, too. His glance lingered on Olivia for a beat longer than necessary, and Ethan's jaw tightened. Maddie, sensing the brewing storm, stepped closer to Ethan. You need to chill, she whispered. It's going to be a long night if you let your jealousy ruin it. Ethan shook his head. It's not just jealousy. It's, I don't know, everything. Suddenly, a loud splash broke the moment. A few boys had dared each other to jump into the pool, drenching themselves and anyone standing too close. Laughter erupted, but it was tinged with nervous energy. From the corner, Chloe's eyes narrowed. She scribbled a quick note, everyone's hiding something. Someone's going to regret it. She didn't know who yet, but the feeling settled like a heavy fog in her chest. Elsewhere, Olivia excused herself and wandered toward the quieter side of the yard. Sam followed, her voice a whisper of gossip. Did you see the way Ethan was looking at you? He's intense. Olivia laughed lightly, brushing it off. He's always intense. Let him be. But even as she spoke, a shadow of doubt flickered across her face. She sensed the subtle tensions, the unspoken rivalries, the whispers of envy that were weaving an invisible web around them all. Back at the pool, Tyler splashed water at Ethan, breaking him out of his thoughts. Ethan's eyes met Tyler's, and in that moment, the air seemed to thicken. It wasn't just playfulness, there was a challenge, a silent declaration that tensions were building, ready to boil over. And Chloe, still observing quietly, felt the first real pulse of foreboding. Something is about to happen tonight, she thought, shivering despite the warm Texas air. Something no one saw coming. The music continued to pulse, laughter rang out, and the night stretched ahead. Beneath the twinkling lights, secrets stirred, alliances wavered, and envy smoldered, an invisible tinderbox waiting for the smallest spark. The music was louder now, pulsating through the backyard like a heartbeat. Teens were scattered everywhere, some dancing, some lounging with drinks, some daring each other to jump into the pool. Laughter and shouts filled the air, but there was an underlying tension, a brittle edge no one seemed to notice. Ethan paced near the pool, restless. His eyes kept flicking toward Olivia and Tyler, who were joking around, their laughter ringing louder than the music. Maddie nudged him. You're going to give yourself a headache staring like that, she whispered. I can't help it, Ethan muttered, jaw tight. Something feels off tonight. Across the pool, Nathan and Tyler were egging each other on to do a triple jump into the deep end. Come on, Nate. Don't chicken out. Tyler shouted, grinning. Yeah, don't ruin your rep. Ethan called mockingly, trying to hide the tension in his voice. He didn't notice Olivia walking closer to the edge of the pool, her bare feet dipping into the water. Chloe, sitting on a lounge chair in the corner, scribbled furiously in her notebook. Something's going to happen. I just don't know who. Her dark eyes scanned every movement, noting the little exchanges that might hint at hidden motives or dangerous impulses. Then it happened in an instant. A splash, a little too big, a little too close, and a scream. Everyone turned toward the pool. Olivia was struggling, her hand clutching at the edge. She had slipped while trying to steady herself after Tyler's playful shove. Someone lunged to help, but in the chaos, Ethan reached her too late. The next moments were a blur, flailing arms, shouts, and then, silence. By the time Ethan grabbed her, it was too late. She wasn't moving. Panic swept over the yard. Teens screamed, parents ran from the house, and Maddie's voice pierced the chaos, call 911. Now. Tyler dropped to his knees beside her, his confident demeanor shattered. Olivia. Stay with me. But she didn't respond. Her eyes were closed, pale in the harsh glow of the string lights. Chloe's hand flew to her mouth, her notebook forgotten. No. This can't be happening. Minutes later, the wail of sirens cut through the night. Police cars and an ambulance arrived, flashing red and blue lights across the chaotic scene. The teens were moved aside, some sobbing, some frozen in shock. Ethan's hands trembled as he ran his fingers through his hair. Detective Laura Mitchell arrived shortly after, her eyes scanning the scene with clinical precision. She was calm, almost eerily so, as she approached the group of teenagers huddled on the patio. I need everyone to stay where they are, she said firmly. Her gaze landed on Ethan. You, what's your name? Ethan. Ethan Parker, he stammered. His eyes darted to Tyler, then to Maddie, then back at the detective. Laura nodded, noting the tension in his voice. Did anyone see what happened? She asked, her tone gentle but insistent. The teenagers exchanged uneasy glances. Whispers started. Someone said Tyler pushed Olivia accidentally, someone else claimed she slipped on her own. It was chaos, uncertainty swirling with fear. And beneath the surface, Laura could already sense the lies beginning to form. Chloe's notebook slipped from her hands as she shook, staring at the pool. She knew she had seen things, little things, subtle signs, hidden tensions. But would anyone believe her? Ethan sank onto the patio, burying his face in his hands. Maddie sat beside him, trying to calm him. We'll figure this out, she whispered, though she herself wasn't sure if that was true. Laura Mitchell's eyes swept over the scene once more. Something isn't right here. This wasn't just an accident. The way the teens avoided looking at each other, the tightness in their shoulders, the almost imperceptible hesitations in their speech, it all spoke to secrets, envy, and possibly, something far darker than a simple slip by the pool. And just like that, the night of celebration had turned into a night of tragedy. What had started as fun, laughter, and youth would soon unravel into a web of lies, betrayal, and murder, or so it seemed. The flashing red and blue lights painted long shadows across the backyard as Detective Laura Mitchell stepped out of her car. The night air was thick with tension, mingling with the lingering scent of barbecue and pool chlorine. Teens huddled together on the patio, some crying, some silent, all uncertain about what was about to unfold. Laura's eyes scanned the scene carefully. Her experience told her immediately, this wasn't just a simple accident. The way the kids shifted uncomfortably under her gaze, the subtle hesitations, the furtive glances, they all spoke of secrets carefully guarded. All right, she said firmly, pulling on her gloves. I need everyone to stay exactly where you are. No one leaves until I've spoken to each of you. Ethan Parker's face was pale, his usual confidence drained. Maddie Brooks sat close, holding his hand, her eyes wide but alert. Tyler Grant stood near the pool, jaw tight, his arms crossed. Nathan hovered beside him, looking anxious. Chloe, quiet as ever, was seated slightly apart, notebook clutched tightly to her chest. Sam Lee whispered something to Olivia's distraught friend, but their conversation was cut short when Laura approached. Ethan Parker, she said, her tone calm but commanding. I need you to tell me exactly what happened. Ethan swallowed hard. I was just watching. Tyler and Nathan were messing around by the pool, and Olivia, she slipped. I tried to reach her, but, his voice faltered, and he buried his face in his hands again. Laura's gaze didn't waver. Did anyone push her? Was anyone playing rough? Tyler's jaw tightened. No. Of course not. It was an accident. Maddie interjected softly. It's true, detective. She slipped. No one meant anything by it. But Laura noted the small signs of unease, Ethan's hands trembling, Tyler's defensive stance, Maddie's too quick reassurance. Something didn't add up. She moved on to Chloe. And you? Did you see what happened? Chloe hesitated, glancing around at the group. I saw them messing near the pool. I don't know, she just slipped. I think it was an accident. Her voice was quiet, but there was an edge of uncertainty, as if she was holding something back. Laura nodded, making notes. We'll need more details later. Right now, I need you all to stay put and answer a few more questions. Meanwhile, whispers began circulating among the teenagers. Some blamed Tyler, others whispered about Ethan's jealousy. Tensions were rising, and Laura knew the first moments of testimony often revealed the cracks in their stories. She stepped aside, surveying the group. Something doesn't fit. Too many quick answers, too many rehearsed reactions. Someone's lying. Olivia's best friend, Sam Lee, finally spoke up, her voice trembling. Detective, she was always careful. Olivia, she wouldn't just fall. Someone pushed her. Gasps rippled through the group. Ethan and Tyler both turned sharply toward her. Maddie grabbed Ethan's arm. Sam, don't. Laura raised her hand, silencing the commotion. Everyone calm down. The truth will come out, but only if you speak honestly. I promise you, lying won't help anyone. The teens exchanged anxious glances, the first seeds of suspicion planted. Alliances shifted subtly as they began questioning each other with silent, wary looks. Chloe scribbled in her notebook again, her hand trembling slightly. They're all hiding something. I just don't know what yet. Laura Mitchell's eyes scanned the yard once more. Every whisper, every flinch, every darting glance was a clue. And in her experience, the truth had a way of surfacing, no matter how well it was buried. The night had changed. What began as a joyful graduation celebration was now a crime scene, tangled in a web of fear, lies, and the unspoken rivalries of teenage hearts. The backyard had quieted after the initial chaos. The flashing lights of police cars and the wail of the ambulance had faded, leaving only the murmurs of teenagers huddled in uneasy clusters. The night air felt heavier now, thick with tension, suspicion, and the unspoken truths each of them carried. Detective Laura Mitchell walked slowly between the groups, her eyes sharp and observant. Each movement, each glance, was a potential clue. She could feel the invisible web of secrets twisting tighter around the teens. Ethan sat apart from the others, his hands clasped over his knees, jaw tight. Maddie stayed close, whispering softly. You need to tell her the whole truth, Ethan. Hiding things won't help. I didn't do anything, Ethan muttered, almost to himself. It was an accident. But why does it feel like everyone's lying except me? Tyler and Nathan lingered near the pool, tossing uneasy glances at each other. Tyler's bravado had begun to crack. We didn't push her, he said firmly, though his voice carried a defensive edge. It was just an accident. Stop looking at me like I'm guilty. Maddie noticed Chloe scribbling furiously in her notebook from the corner. Chloe, she whispered. Do you know something? Chloe looked up, her dark eyes wide. I just noticed things. Little things. People saying one thing, doing another. I think someone's lying. Across the yard, Sam Lee whispered urgently to a group of friends. I saw Ethan and Olivia earlier, they had words. He was jealous. He was mad about Tyler. You can see it in his eyes. Ethan's head shot up, his expression a mix of shock and anger. That's not true, he shouted, though his voice trembled. Laura Mitchell, watching closely, stepped in. Enough. All of you. Sit down. Calm yourselves. Lying to me or to each other will only make things worse. The teens reluctantly gathered on the patio. Laura's tone softened slightly. I know you're scared. But someone here knows what really happened. Secrets have a way of coming out. If you tell me everything, no matter how small, it will help clarify things. Ethan took a deep breath, glancing at Maddie, who gave him a reassuring nod. Slowly, he began to recount the evening, the playful shoves by the pool, Olivia's laughter, the slip, the panic. He left nothing out, but he emphasized what he could remember, consciously avoiding any speculation about Tyler's actions. Tyler, meanwhile, muttered under his breath. It's all Parker's fault. He was staring at her the whole night, acting like he owned the place. Nathan gave him a warning look. Not helping, man. Chloe raised her hand slightly. Detective, I think some people were hiding things even before the accident. Small fights, jealous comments, things that might seem minor but could explain tension tonight. Laura's gaze lingered on Chloe. Go on. Chloe hesitated, then whispered, Ethan was upset about Tyler and Olivia. Sam overheard Tyler bragging about getting closer to Olivia. Maddie seemed worried about Ethan, like she knew something might happen. Laura's pen scratched against her notebook. The picture was becoming more complicated. What had seemed like a simple slip was tangled with envy, jealousy, and perhaps grudges that no one had expected to surface on this night. Whispers spread through the teens. Accusations and defensiveness flared. Each tried to protect themselves, each tried to hide a part of the truth. And in doing so, the web of secrets tightened, pulling them all deeper into suspicion and fear. The night was far from over. Lies were beginning to unravel, alliances shifting in silence. Detective Mitchell knew that soon, the first cracks would appear, and the truth, whatever it was, would be exposed. And somewhere in the shadows, Chloe continued to watch, knowing that the smallest observation could make the difference between solving the mystery and letting it consume them all. The night air in Cedar Creek felt heavier now, thick with unspoken accusations and simmering tensions. The backyard, once filled with laughter and music, had become a stage for subtle confrontations. Shadows from the string lights stretched across faces twisted with fear, guilt, and jealousy. Ethan leaned against the fence, arms crossed tightly, eyes fixed on Tyler. Every laugh Tyler shared with Olivia seemed like a jab to his chest, every casual glance a reminder of what he didn't have. Maddie sat beside him, quietly observing, her hand occasionally brushing his arm in a calming gesture. "You're way too tense," Tyler said, his voice laced with mockery as he approached Ethan. "It's just a party. Relax, man." "I am relaxed," Ethan snapped, though the tremor in his voice betrayed him. "Unlike some people who seem to enjoy other people's misery." Tyler's grin faltered slightly. "What are you even talking about?" "You know what I'm talking about," Ethan said, stepping closer. "Olivia, the pool, you always have to be the center of attention, don't you?" Tyler's jaw tightened, but before he could respond, Maddie interjected. "Ethan, stop. This isn't helping." Across the yard, Chloe observed quietly, her notebook open on her lap. She scribbled rapidly, noting every micro-expression, every flinch, every whispered comment. She could sense the rivalries lurking beneath smiles, the grudges hidden behind polite laughter. Sam Lee, ever the instigator, whispered to a small group of friends. "Did you see Parker glaring at Tyler all night? I swear, he was plotting something." Nathan Hughes, Tyler's loyal friend, scoffed. "He's just jealous. Everyone can see it. Tyler's the better guy, handsome, popular, athletic. Parker, not so much." Ethan caught the words, though he pretended not to. Anger coiled in his stomach. Better? He hated that he cared. He hated that it burned so much. Olivia, still in shock from the accident, wandered closer to the patio. Her expression was pale, almost haunted. She avoided both Ethan and Tyler, though the tension between them was palpable. Maddie followed, protective, sensing that Olivia needed someone neutral to anchor her amidst the swirling chaos. Laura Mitchell, moving methodically between the groups, noted the growing hostilities. "I want each of you to remember, this isn't just about pointing fingers. I need facts, timelines, and details. Secrets can hurt more than accidents. Be honest." The teens exchanged cautious glances. Nobody wanted to reveal too much, but the pressure was mounting. Alliances were forming silently, loyalties tested by suspicion. Chloe scribbled one last note before closing her notebook. "Ethan's jealousy is obvious. Tyler's pride is fragile. Maddie's loyalty is the only constant. Secrets are colliding tonight, and someone is going to crack." Even as the music began to play softly again, the undercurrents of envy, rivalry, and unspoken grudges had already taken root. The tension was no longer hidden, it was alive, simmering, waiting for the spark that could ignite the entire web of deceit. And in that quiet, electric moment, Detective Mitchell sensed it too, the accident was only the beginning. The true battle, between jealousy, revenge, and hidden truths, was about to unfold. The interior of the Cedar Creek Police Department was sterile and cold, a stark contrast to the chaotic warmth of the backyard just hours earlier. The fluorescent lights hummed above, casting harsh shadows over the small interview rooms. Detective Laura Mitchell sat behind a desk, her notebook open, pen poised, and eyes sharp with focus. Ethan Parker was first. He sat rigid in the chair, hands clasped tightly on the table. Maddie waited outside, pacing nervously, unwilling to leave his side but respecting the protocol. "Ethan," Laura began calmly, her gaze steady, "I need you to tell me everything you remember about tonight. Don't leave out a single detail, no matter how small it may seem." Ethan swallowed hard. I was at the pool, watching. Tyler was messing around, Nathan too. Olivia, she slipped. I tried to reach her, but," his voice broke. I couldn't. Laura's eyes softened slightly, but her voice remained firm. "It's not your fault if it truly was an accident. But I need honesty. Did anyone push her? Did anyone threaten her?" "No. No one pushed her. It was an accident." Ethan's hands shook as he ran them through his hair. Laura made a note and leaned back slightly. "Were there any arguments tonight?" Any jealousy? Any grudges we should know about? Ethan hesitated. The truth tugged at him, but fear and pride held him back. There were tensions. Tyler and we've never gotten along perfectly. Anne. Olivia. I don't know, maybe she noticed it. But I didn't do anything. Next was Tyler Grant. He sat with arms crossed, jaw tight, trying to maintain his usual bravado. I was at the pool, he said tersely. We were just fooling around. Ethan, he was staring a lot, acting weird. But I didn't touch her. I swear. Laura raised an eyebrow. And Maddie? Chloe? Sam? Anyone else in your vicinity? Tyler hesitated, then muttered, I don't know. Everyone was scattered. We were all just trying to have fun. Chloe was next. She clutched her notebook tightly, eyes downcast, but her voice was clear. I saw the dynamics. Ethan was tense, Tyler was showing off, Olivia was distracted. I don't know if anyone meant harm, but the way they were interacting, it didn't feel safe. Something felt off. Laura nodded, her gaze steady. Thank you, Chloe. Your observations are valuable. Sam Lee's turn came last. Her voice was shaky, almost accusatory. Ethan was jealous. Tyler was boastful, everyone was hiding things. I think someone did something intentionally, but I don't know who. Laura's pen scratched against her notebook. Every account had contradictions, tiny inconsistencies. Every story was layered with emotion, fear, and perhaps deception. The more she listened, the more the truth seemed buried beneath a web of secrets and lies. Outside, Maddie waited, wringing her hands nervously. When Ethan emerged, she rushed to him. Well? She asked softly. It's not over, Ethan murmured, voice low, shadows under his eyes. Everyone's lying. I can feel it. Laura Mitchell watched silently from the hallway. She could sense it too, the tension, the rivalries, the envy. The truth was close, she could feel it humming beneath the surface. And she knew that unless these teens were forced to confront their hidden motives, the real story might never come out. The night stretched on, and the web of deception thickened. Every whispered lie, every hidden thought, was another piece of the puzzle that Laura needed to solve. Detective Laura Mitchell returned to the backyard the next morning. The scene had changed dramatically. Yellow police tape now cordoned off the pool area, and forensic officers were busy photographing and collecting evidence. The once festive yard was silent, heavy with the weight of tragedy. Laura crouched near the pool's edge, inspecting the wet concrete and scattered pool toys. Something caught her eye, a small, almost imperceptible smear on the edge of the pool. She ran her gloved finger over it and carefully collected it. This could be the break we need, she muttered to herself. Inside the police department, she examined the evidence under bright fluorescent lights. The smear contained traces of skin and faint residue from a cosmetic product, likely a lotion or foundation. Cross-referencing this with the teen interviews narrowed it down to two girls who had been near the pool at the time, Olivia and Maddie. Laura leaned back in her chair. If Maddie was there, did she witness something more than she admitted? Her instincts told her that someone was shielding the truth, and the clue at the pool was the first tangible lead. Meanwhile, Chloe had returned to her notebook, reviewing her own observations. She realized that some of the subtle movements she had noticed, the glance Tyler threw at Olivia, Ethan's tension, Maddie hovering protectively, might be more than casual teenage jealousy. Someone might have done this intentionally, she scribbled. Laura called Ethan in for a follow-up interview. I need to ask about Maddie, she said calmly. Were you and Maddie near the pool when Olivia fell? Ethan shook his head. No, we were on the patio, talking, trying to calm ourselves after everyone started splashing around. Maddie didn't see anything, really. She just stayed with me. Laura nodded slowly. All right. But I need you to be completely honest. If Maddie did see something, it's better to tell me now. Ethan hesitated, then finally admitted, she might have seen more than she said. But she wouldn't lie. She's loyal. That's all I can tell you. Laura made a note, her mind turning over the possibilities. Loyalty, fear, jealousy, they were all interwoven in a complex tapestry. But the pool smear and Chloe's observations provided her a path forward. She called Chloe in. "I need your help," she said, gesturing to a chair across from her desk. "You notice things that others didn't. Now we need to connect those observations with the evidence." Chloe nodded, her eyes bright with determination. "I wrote down everything. Every glance, every whisper, every moment that seemed off. I think it all matters." Together, they pieced together the events leading to the accident, or perhaps, what had been made to look like an accident. Small inconsistencies in statements, subtle jealousies, and hidden rivalries began to form a pattern. Laura's pen scratched across the notebook. The breakthrough was subtle but critical. The accident wasn't random. Someone's envy, someone's rivalry, someone's secret desire, had played a role. And now, armed with evidence and Chloe's observations, she had a starting point to uncover the truth hidden behind teenage facades. The game was changing. Lies had begun to crumble, and the first threads of the real story were finally being pulled into the light. The police interrogation room felt colder than usual that morning. Detective Laura Mitchell sat at the table, stacks of notes and evidence before her. She had Chloe's observations, the forensic results from the pool, and transcripts from the previous interviews. Now it was time to test the alibis, to separate fact from carefully constructed fiction. Ethan Parker was first. His hands trembled slightly as he recounted the timeline again. "After the party got rowdy by the pool, Maddie and I stayed on the patio. I didn't move from there," he said firmly. Laura's eyes narrowed. "Can anyone confirm that?" Ethan hesitated. "Maddie, maybe, but she's loyal. She wouldn't lie about me." Laura scribbled a note. "Loyalty or fear?" Next, Tyler Grant. "I was at the pool the whole time. Nathan can vouch for me," he said, trying to keep his tone casual. Laura raised an eyebrow. "Nathan, then. Can you confirm Tyler's location?" Nathan shifted in his chair, visibly uncomfortable. Yeah, mostly. We were messing around, but I didn't notice exactly where he was when Olivia fell." Laura leaned back, letting the silence grow. The cracks were already forming. Tyler's certainty was shaky, and Nathan's hesitation was a red flag. Chloe's turn came next. She outlined her observations, highlighting moments where Ethan's tension and Tyler's arrogance intersected with Olivia's distracted movements. "I don't know if anyone pushed her," Chloe admitted, "but the dynamics made a fall very possible. And someone was definitely hiding something." Laura nodded, making careful notes. "Thank you, Chloe. That's exactly why your observations matter." Sam Lee, still emotional, had a harder time holding her composure. "Ethan was jealous," she repeated, almost pleading. "Tyler, he was bragging about Olivia. I think someone did it on purpose." Laura remained calm, though inside, the puzzle pieces were shifting quickly. Something about Sam's tone, the way she emphasized certain words, suggested she knew more than she admitted. With each alibi tested, inconsistencies appeared. Ethan's patio-only statement conflicted slightly with Maddie's observations, Tyler's whole time at the pool claim wavered under Nathan's hesitance, and even Olivia's friends offered fragmented accounts of her movements. Laura tapped her pen against her notebook. Someone's lying. Not just hiding emotions, but actively concealing actions. She could feel the truth teetering just out of reach, like a fragile puzzle piece waiting to snap into place. As the interrogation stretched into the afternoon, alliances among the teens began to shift. Silent glances, whispered comments, and unspoken accusations created tension so thick it felt like a storm waiting to break. By the end of the day, Laura had her first clear impression: this wasn't merely a tragic accident. The tangled web of jealousy, rivalry, and hidden resentments had played a significant role. Someone had used that tension, perhaps unintentionally, to create the fatal slip. Laura collected her notes, her mind racing. Tomorrow, she would confront the teens with the inconsistencies, with the contradictions that could expose the truth. But she knew one thing with certainty: the first cracks in their alibis had begun to show, and once those cracks widened, nothing would be able to hide what really happened at the graduation party. The afternoon sun poured through the blinds of the interrogation room, casting long stripes across the floor. Detective Laura Mitchell sat at the table, her posture calm but commanding, eyes scanning the teens who had been called in one by one. Each carried the weight of the night, a mixture of fear, guilt, and carefully concealed secrets. Ethan was first. His jaw was set, but his hands fidgeted with the hem of his shirt. Laura's voice was steady. Ethan, the statements you've given don't align with some of the other accounts. I need honesty now. Did anyone push Olivia? Ethan's head fell into his hands. I didn't. I swear. I was jealous, okay? I was angry seeing her with Tyler. I admit it, but I didn't touch her. Laura leaned in. So your anger didn't make you act? Did you shout, scare, or distract her near the pool? He hesitated, then whispered, maybe I yelled, maybe I startled her. I didn't mean it to happen. I didn't touch her. Next, Tyler Grant. His confident facade was cracking. I didn't push her, he said, voice trembling. But maybe I shouldn't have been joking around. I was showing off, and I didn't realize she was that close to the edge. Chloe, watching quietly in the corner, scribbled furiously in her notebook. She noticed the small confessions, the subtle admissions that hinted at culpability without full ownership. Laura turned to Sam Lee. Sam, you seemed convinced someone acted on purpose. What makes you say that? Sam's lips quivered. I don't know. I saw the way Ethan and Tyler were, fighting for attention. Olivia, she was laughing, distracted. And I think someone didn't care what happened to her. Maddie, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Her voice was firm. Ethan wasn't the one who pushed her. And Tyler didn't either. But they were careless. Everyone was careless. That's what led to it. Laura exhaled slowly. The confessions were fragmented but revealing. No one claimed direct intent to harm, yet the recklessness, envy, and distraction among the teens had created the conditions for the tragedy. Outside, tensions were boiling. Ethan and Tyler were both aware of each other's admissions, and the silence between them was filled with unspoken blame. Maddie tried to mediate, but the undercurrent of resentment was too strong. Laura Mitchell stood, voice cutting through the silence. Listen closely. The accident didn't happen in isolation. It was influenced by fear, jealousy, carelessness, and rivalry. I need each of you to understand the gravity of your actions, even if unintentional. The truth is coming out, whether you want it to or not. Chloe's eyes met Laura's. Detective, the little details I wrote down, they matter. The way everyone moved, looked, whispered, it all points to something bigger than just a slip. Laura nodded. Exactly. And those details will help us understand the full picture of what happened. By the end of the day, the teens were exhausted, emotionally drained, but the first walls of deception had started to crumble. Confessions, partial though they were, began revealing the tangled web of rivalry, jealousy, and carelessness that had led to Olivia's death. Laura Mitchell knew this was only the beginning. The confrontation had opened a door, and behind it, the full truth waited, ready to be uncovered, layer by painful layer. The quiet of the police department was deceptive. Detective Laura Mitchell leaned back in her chair, reviewing every statement, every observation, every subtle clue collected from the teens. One fact had become clear: the accident had not been purely accidental. Something deeper had been at play, a hidden motive, obscured by jealousy, rivalry, and fear. Laura called Chloe into the room, notebook in hand. Chloe, I need you to help me map out the social dynamics. Who envies whom, who feels excluded, and who might have benefited from Olivia being distracted, or worse, harmed. Chloe nodded eagerly, spreading her notes across the table. Ethan was clearly jealous of Tyler. He felt overlooked, powerless. Tyler was popular, athletic, and Olivia paid attention to him. Maddie tried to calm Ethan, but he couldn't escape that feeling of being second best. Laura's pen moved swiftly. Go on. Tyler, Chloe continued, loved the attention. He was showing off all night, almost taunting Ethan without realizing it. Nathan reinforced his confidence, making Tyler feel untouchable. Olivia, she was unaware of the danger but got caught in their rivalry. Sam noticed the tension, and I think she saw Ethan's jealousy boil over. Laura tapped her pen. Jealousy as motive. Carelessness as catalyst. She picked up Ethan's statement again. He admitted to shouting near the pool, possibly startling Olivia. He didn't intend harm, but the risk was real. Laura's mind pieced it together: the hidden motive wasn't premeditated murder, it was the toxic cocktail of adolescent envy, unchecked rivalry, and a desperate need to be noticed. Ethan's jealousy, Tyler's need for validation, and the group's subtle hierarchies had collided, resulting in tragedy. Laura decided it was time to confront the teens with the hidden motive. She gathered Ethan, Tyler, Maddie, and Chloe into the interrogation room. Tonight, she began firmly, I want you to understand what happened. Olivia's fall was influenced by more than just an accident. It was a product of envy, distraction, and competition. Ethan, your jealousy, Tyler, your showmanship, and the dynamics among you all, these created the conditions for her death. Ethan's eyes filled with guilt. I didn't push her. I swear. Laura's voice softened, but remained resolute. I know. You didn't intend to hurt her. But your actions mattered. Your rivalry mattered. The tension mattered. It all contributed to the accident. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. So, we're partially responsible? Exactly, Laura said. Intentional or not, your behavior set the stage. Understanding this hidden motive is critical, not to punish, but to prevent future tragedy. Maddie leaned forward. Detective, can we fix it somehow? Even if we didn't mean to? Laura nodded. Acknowledgement is the first step. You'll have the opportunity to face consequences, but you also need to understand what drove this and how to handle it moving forward. Chloe scribbled one final note. Hidden motives are often silent, unnoticed until tragedy exposes them. Tonight, the truth is out, and everyone sees the consequences. The room was heavy with realization. The hidden motive, a blend of jealousy, rivalry, and carelessness, was now clear to everyone. It was no longer just an accident. It was the result of human flaws laid bare under the glare of grief and investigation. The air in the police interrogation room felt electric, heavy with tension and anticipation. Detective Laura Mitchell sat across from the teens, Ethan, Tyler, Maddie, Chloe, and Sam, each carrying the weight of the past night, their secrets now laid bare under scrutiny. Laura's eyes scanned them carefully. We've gone through your statements, your observations, and the evidence. What's left are the final truths. It's time to be completely honest, so we can understand how Olivia's accident really happened. Ethan spoke first, voice trembling. I yelled near the pool. I was jealous. I wanted her attention, or maybe to get Tyler's. I didn't push her. I didn't mean for her to fall. But I realize now that my actions distracted her, and that makes me feel responsible. Tyler shifted, avoiding Ethan's gaze. I was showing off. I didn't think about the danger. I just wanted to be noticed, to make everyone laugh. I didn't push her either, but I see now that my carelessness mattered. Maddie nodded slowly. We all let our feelings get in the way. I tried to protect Ethan, but I didn't see the bigger picture. We contributed to what happened. Chloe, who had been quiet, spoke last. The little things I noticed, the glances, the whispers, the jealousy, they weren't visible to everyone. But they created the environment for the accident. I just recorded what I saw. Sam Lee swallowed hard. I saw everything. I was scared to say something, thinking it would make things worse. But I should have spoken up. The truth, it's out now. Laura leaned forward, voice firm but gentle. This isn't about punishment alone. It's about understanding. Your emotions, your rivalries, and your carelessness combined to create this tragic accident. Recognizing that is the first step toward taking responsibility and making sure it doesn't happen again. Silence filled the room, each teen lost in their own thoughts. The weight of guilt was tangible, but so was relief. Relief that the truth was finally exposed. Later, outside the interrogation room, Laura reflected. The investigation had uncovered not only the sequence of events but the underlying human flaws, jealousy, envy, and carelessness, that had made tragedy inevitable. But the teenagers had also begun the process of understanding, of confronting their own behaviors. Chloe watched quietly, her notebook closed. She had played a crucial role, piecing together subtle signs that others overlooked. Her observations had helped reveal the hidden truths. Detective Mitchell knew that healing would be slow. Olivia's death was a loss that would echo in their lives for years. But the truth, fully revealed, was the first step toward closure. The lies and secrets had been unraveled, exposing the fragile dynamics that led to tragedy. And as the sun set over Cedar Creek, the teens walked out of the police station, changed, aware, and burdened with the knowledge that their actions, even unintentional, carried consequences far beyond what they had imagined. Weeks had passed since the tragic graduation party. Cedar Creek High remained cloaked in a quiet sorrow, the hallways echoing with memories of laughter that had turned to grief. Detective Laura Mitchell walked the familiar paths of the school, observing the subtle changes in her young witnesses, the way they carried themselves, the shadows in their eyes, and the tentative steps toward understanding the consequences of their actions. Ethan Parker was quieter now. Gone was the tension-fueled bravado, in its place was a thoughtful solemnity. He had spent hours reflecting on his jealousy, his actions, and the part they played in Olivia's death. He had apologized to her family, though words could never truly erase what had happened. He and Maddie had grown closer, united by shared guilt and the need to support each other through the aftermath. Tyler Grant, once so confident and reckless, had withdrawn slightly. He had begun volunteering at community events, seeking ways to channel his need for attention into something positive. Nathan Hughes remained by his side, serving as both friend and reminder of the importance of responsibility. Chloe had returned to her writing, documenting the story of that night. Her keen observations had not only aided the investigation but had also given her a sense of purpose. She knew that, by recording the truth, she had contributed to justice, and in a way, honored Olivia's memory. Sam Lee had faced her fears, admitting to herself that silence could be as harmful as action. She became an advocate among her peers, encouraging openness and accountability, hoping to prevent another tragedy from occurring. Detective Laura Mitchell reflected on the lessons of the case. Teenagers were impulsive, driven by emotion, and often blind to the consequences of their actions. But they were also capable of growth, empathy, and understanding. By guiding them through the revelations, she had seen the first sparks of maturity ignite, small, fragile, but promising. One evening, Laura visited Olivia's grave. The flowers were fresh, carefully arranged, and a single stuffed animal rested atop the stone. She knelt, taking a deep breath. "We uncovered the truth, Olivia. It wasn't a random accident, and the lessons have been learned. I hope you find peace, knowing we tried to make sense of the chaos left behind." Back at the school, the teens gathered quietly, a tentative sense of unity forming among them. They had faced the raw consequences of rivalry, envy, and carelessness, and survived, changed forever. They knew that life could be fragile, and that even small actions could have monumental impacts. The graduation party would be remembered not just for the tragedy, but for the truths it revealed, the fragile, complicated hearts of youth, the dangers of unbridled jealousy, and the power of honesty. Cedar Creek would never be the same, but within that sorrow, there was a glimmer of hope, understanding, accountability, and the possibility of redemption. As the sun set over the Texas horizon, painting the sky with shades of gold and crimson, a new chapter began, for Ethan, Tyler, Maddie, Chloe, and Sam. One that carried the weight of the past, yet offered a cautious promise for the future.